Waiting Room. A story set in 1975. I knew that the train station waiting room had been out of use for many decades. I pushed the door anyway, and, to my surprise, it opened easily, and so I entered the dusty and musty environment. My intention was to stay overnight at the station between the last train at 11:45 p.m. that late evening and the next train at 5:45 a.m. the following early morning. I was armed with an old-fashioned 120 roll film camera, which only had 10 frames to play with. I managed to get 8 pictures to come out. Not too bad. There were cobwebs everywhere inside the room, and it was damp and cold. Years of dust had gathered on all the counters and bench surfaces. The delicate strands of the webs caressed my forehead and the back of my neck and clung to my face in an unsettling way. I could smell stale tobacco, and I also got a subtle hint of perfume too. The clock on the wall had stopped at 5 to midnight. There was a fireplace that didn't look like it had seen flames for a long time. I had brought some matches with me, and they came in handy because I managed to get an abandoned paraffin lamp going, which was great, as this allowed me to take authentic time exposures using the low light of the lamp. And that, indeed, was my purpose. I was here to photograph echoes from the past, or ghosts, as people often call them. I lay on a grubby bench and wrapped myself up in my sleeping bag. As the night passed, I saw moving shadows and heard odd, high-pitched voices that sounded like people having conversations from 100 years ago while they waited for their train. I could just about discern what some of these voices were saying, but the dialect was nothing like I'd ever heard before. Around 3 a.m, I was a wee bit bored, and so I got out of my sleeping bag and went over to have a closer look at the ancient telephone that was bracketed to the wall. I wiped it with my handkerchief, and, just out of morbid curiosity, I put the handset to my ear. I heard a dialing tone. Now, that really freaked me. I could accept these moving shadows and distant voices could be a figment of my imagination, but dialing tones? Was this environment playing tricks on my mind? I put the phone handset back in its cradle. It immediately began to ring in a bell-like way. This could have been some sort of quirk, a stored electric pulse in the ancient wiring or something, I thought. But when this ringing happened, it took me aback, and I decided it was probably a good idea to get out of this spooky room as fast as I could. This was maybe getting just a bit too creepy for my liking. I moved quickly to the big, solid exit door, tried the handle, only to discover it now seemed to be locked. Also, I could hear a man's voice outside on the platform. A deeper voice, not high-pitched like the others. Nevertheless, who was wandering around at that time? I blew out the flame of the lamp, and then I kept very still. In the darkness from inside the waiting room, I could see a shadowy figure on the platform, casually walking past the windows. Then I heard the rattle of the doorknob. I tensed up in fear of who might be about to enter, but the rattle was more of a simply checking the door was secure, because the footsteps then moved away along the platform and into the distance. Panic over. But was the exit door really locked? Or had the latch just slipped I asked myself. I tried the doorknob again.